Welcome, Sagittarius, to your in-depth weekly astrology overview and zodiac forecast for week commencing the 25th of May for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. I'm going to share the big themes of the week ahead, first of all, then on screen, the event chart as we come into the week, which always provides a powerful backdrop. I'll then go through each of the influences in detail. By the end of the video, you'll have a clearer understanding of what's upcoming as far as your energy, work, relationships, or finances. It's a week, Sagittarius, when there could be a bit of a chasm between your connections and relationships which are going brilliantly well and those that aren't, but it can be with very different people. It's a week which begins with a big cluster of energy in the sign of Gemini, and then maybe some sparkling conversations. But as the week goes on, Venus, the planet of relating, clashes with Saturn, which is in the part of your chart to do with romance. So there may be a little bit of a challenge around how well a tie can develop. But by the end of the week, there is a full moon, a blue moon in your sign. And whatever people want from you or whatever you're prepared to give, it could reach a bit of a pinch point if something around the practicalities of that situation is not quite working for you. So on the screen now is your event chart, and there's that cluster of energy in the chatty sign of Gemini, which can be very vivacious. Having Mercury there, wonderful for having uh, conversations backwards and forwards and using your ability to see the big picture to just deal graciously if people have different viewpoints to you. But the link between the Sun and Uranus is very potent, and that suggests that there could be sudden connections. But in a relationship situation which is not going so well, will it mean a sudden disconnection? Because on Monday, the Sun is in a T square with the nodal axis. And it might be because the South Node in Virgo, very much about practicalities, and the North Node in Pisces, very much about your deeper emotions, are challenged by the Sun. So, as much as the ideal may be to meet people halfway, have some kind of alliance, does it fit into your world across those two principles? That may come up. If, however, you are connecting to someone that you really like, doesn't have to be romantic, could be around a project, an idea, some kind of team situation, even where your ideas and theirs are really meshing together, that really can see a high point on Tuesday when the Sun moves forwards in Gemini, links back to Pluto, and that alliance can just seem to gain even more passion and traction in an incredibly positive way. Could it be romantic? Yeah, but it may be around a shared ideal. It may be around a business involvement. But then also on Tuesday, Pluto is squaring with Mars. It hasn't happened for 2 years, so it's quite an uncommon aspect, but they're both in fixed signs, which can create a resistance to flex it. And for you, Mars is seeing you perhaps being picky would be a strong word, certainly understanding that structures are important. And it's important too that even if you want to collaborate with someone or even get involved with them at a romantic level, that it does work practically too. And if it's not, that can create a lot of tension. Maybe the tension's just within you. I do think it's a good week actually to be as active as possible to try to burn off any excess nervous energy. But then, as the week goes on, Venus, the planet of relating, which is in the deep and passionate eighth house for you, moves forwards and comes into a square with Saturn in the fifth house of romance. So if you're really not getting on, it could show up by Friday. But hey, incredibly, by then, the Sun's moved forwards and forges an amazing link with Saturn. So you can see if a relationship has got a vulnerability, isn't quite working practically, maybe location, maybe the available time to enjoy one another's company, or in an ongoing relationship, perhaps there's a lack of intimacy, Venus in the eighth house, or differences over finance, but there's still the opportunity by talking things through the air sign of Gemini, linking back to the structural Saturn in your fifth house of romance to actually get things on a better footing. But that brings us to the full moon. And if you aren't happy, because the full moon in your sign links to Mars in a quincunx, that part of you that's just noticing at the moment things that aren't quite right in a bit more of a detailed way, it could be difficult for you not to speak up about it. So you can see the potential for this week to go super well for all sorts of connections, or for the weak ones to really be exposed is definitely very much to the fore. I'm going to summarize those four areas of vitality, your job, your relationships and money next, Sagittarius. But just to say, you can order your personal horoscopes, 3 for the price of 1. It used to be 2 and 30% off, but I've slashed the prices because I know people are feeling the pinch. So the one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that have played out in our lives so far, get a more intimate understanding of those energies and how to work with them better future forwards. I believe that none of us ever stops learning. So that chart really just helps to fill in some gaps in our understanding. But the free charts is your 12 months transit forecast, totally unique to you. And your Chaconic chart, which is much more to do with our soul karmic uh, uh, situation. It can be very different to the natal chart. Helps us to look at astrology, life, and ourselves in a profoundly different way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your Gemini season deep dive video, please see that on the screen. Now, that Mars-Pluto square reaches a climax on Tuesday the 26th. I've done a deep dive on that too. Please check that out as well. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, it'd be an absolute pleasure. I work with people the world over. Please see my testimonials below. And if you've yet to take advantage of my free daily written horoscope, fired to your device each morning for your early day celestial pit stop, please do. A lot of people interested in natal astrology can think the daily horoscopes are not worth the proverbial paper they're written on. I don't agree. I actually think they can be very, very helpful. It does depend on how they're written, but you can read it for your ascendant, your moon, your partner, your ex, whoever you want. So, to summarize, a spirit of collaboration is possible, particularly by good communication. Where your communication is flowing, even if there are things that need to be overcome, as there often are in all sorts of associations, as long as there is that simpatico in the way you connect, I think things could go from strength to strength. That can be around professional connections as much as personal ones. If, however, there are weaknesses, they could show up this week. I really believe that. However, long-term finances are looking very good. You may not feel that this week because of the pinch point between Saturn and Venus on Friday, but by the early part of June, the evidence can come through. As far as your physical energy is concerned, I think it can be very high, very strong because of Mars being in that sixth house, but in that high energy right angle to Pluto. It's what you do with it that could prove to be the issue. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me, Sagittarius. Wishing you all the best and look forward to seeing you again soon.